What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unique Uniques. Today I actually have 5 uniques that I'm going to show you guys, pretty much so I can get them out of my stash and not have to keep worrying about them. First up, we're just going to do this rapid fire, is Cattail. This is a mace. It is actually exceptional. I think the rest are normal. They are. It's good, but it's okay, which is why I kind of added it to this list. What you're going to get for this one is 25% faster cast rate, which is good. Adds 50 to 125 damage, 33% deadly strike, hit blinds target, 15 to strength, 60 to mana, regenerate mana 75%, and 50% to damage to undead. Now, this does do 65 to 148 damage, which isn't bad. Obviously, it isn't, oh my god, this is incredible levels of unique right here. The hit blinds target does help, but I think if you guys remember, there was I think it might have been a sword actually, where when you use it, it actually gives you Cloak of Shadows and hit blinds target, which is the reason why I'm putting this on this list as like a bottom tier weapon compared to that one. The reason being is whenever you have Cloak of Shadows and hit blinds target, if I have an item that has both of those on there, I can't justify myself switching to something else that only has one of those two. So in my opinion, it's kind of obsolete only because we have much better options. Now you do get 50 to strength and 60 to mana from this, which is pretty good, and the other weapon didn't have that. And the extra damage on there plus the deadly strike is incredible. It's just not good enough for me to think like this is freaking fantastic or anything like that. So let's just go ahead and go to the next one. And this one's going to be Armor of Gloom. This gives you 7% chance to cast level 2 dim vision when struck, which I don't really think is all that great. Dim vision, all that really does is makes it so that like you could either A, sneak past an enemy, or B, be able to hit them before they hit you. But in this instance, they have to hit you first before it actually procs that you're using dim vision, and by that point it blinds the target, but they can still see you within a certain range. And not only that, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't really work on super uniques, bosses, or Oblivion Knights. So I mean, it's cool and all, but because here's the issue, guys. So here's the issue with this one. Right underneath that, you have hit blinds target. So on one hand, you could be like, okay, well, that's okay, because if they hit me, I'll use dim vision on all the monsters around me, and then I'll hit the one that's in front of me for hit blinds target, which is viable, but it isn't really like a tactic I think you should really be doing in endgame. You know what I mean? That's my only issue with that. Plus, hit blinds target is only going to work on the things that you've actually already hit, and dim vision is only going to make it so the enemies don't see you within a certain range, and that's only going to work on regular enemies. So if you're fighting super uniques or champions, freaking bosses, anything above just plain straight up original just crap fodder enemies, it's not going to work. So it really doesn't matter. You see what I'm trying to say? So it also gives you 83 to defense, making the defense on this 105, and it is a required level of 15. And I will say that 105 with the required level of 15 is freaking great. At level 15, having an armor that does 105 defense is actually pretty good. I will give this that. It also gives you 10 to vitality, which gives you more life, and you can always use more life anytime that you're playing Diablo. So that's good too. And poison resist to 35%. So if you were to say find this maybe in Act 1, let's just say that, for the sake of argument, you ran the pits a bunch of times. And so you actually found this because you waited until you were like level 22 or something like that before you went up to Act 2, where you're going to have to be dealing with a lot of poison and lightning issues when you get to Act 2, not to mention Andariel herself that also does a lot of poison damage. Then yeah, it's a decent armor for Act 1 of normal, maybe Act 2 of normal, but I don't really see myself ever using this past that. So that's the only issue with this one. Not saying it's garbage. That's pretty cool. And if it was a first time playthrough for me and I found this, I'd probably be happy. And I might even save this just to use it for Endarial if I can't find any other way to get poison resist. But the issue is this. When you've been playing this game long enough, you start to collect things, you put it in your share stash, right? So some of these uniques are only really useful on a very first time playthrough. So yeah, all in all, Armor of Gloom, pretty good. Not the best in the world. It is socketed. This one was socketed. I'm sure you can put more sockets in it if you want to. So you can make it a little bit better, but it's okay. So anyways, moving on. This is Skein of Pain, and this one has a defense of 27. This is a pair of gauntlets. It gives you +1 to masteries for the barbarian only. Gives you 10% increased attack speed. For a barbarian, that is great. Adds 3 to 12 damage. 128, that's what this rolled with. 128 enhanced defense. 20 to mana. Lightning resist of 33. And fire resist of 18%. For a pair of gloves, that's actually pretty nice. Especially if you are still in normal, which you should be if you're wearing this, then that's really going to help you at least through Act 2, that fire resistance you're going to need for Act 4. So that's definitely something that you need. And with the barbarian himself, he always needs increased attack speed, especially if you have a lot of life leech issues going on, or if you don't have any life leech in particular, then you definitely want to be hitting faster, as fast as possible. Also, the one thing about barbarian, like if you're using like a double swing barbarian, right, is you want life leech though to be on your weapons. At least I do personally, which is why I would always try to put that on my weapons. And with this, you're going to be able to hit faster, and the more you hit, the more life you're going to generate, and the more likely your odds are of surviving. Because even with leap, it's still really hard to get out of those big groups, especially once you fall in the stun lock, right? You're just going to be locked in place for hella days. You're not going to be able to do anything, and next thing you know, you're going to be throwing your controller because you're dead, because you got mobbed by a bunch of enemies, especially if you don't know what you're doing yet, while you're playing Diablo 2. So let's move on again. So this one, yeah, this one's not bad. I could recommend it. I just couldn't see myself doing like a full 5-minute video on, which is what I'm trying to get with these. So if I don't get 5 minutes for one item, I'm definitely going to do more than one item. So up next, this is Dark Hunger. I feel like the game is trying to tell me that I need to start a barbarian, because this is like the 100th freaking unique that I have found in a row for the barbarian specifically, or an item that is tailored mostly to a barbarian. Even throw barb. I think the last really good unique I found was that one I put up a little while ago. It was for a throw barb. Oh man, I can't remember the name of it. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So yeah, this is going to give you +3 to combat skills, which again, always great. 10% life stolen per hit. There's that life leech thing I was just talking about. You need that. So in my mind, this is already a great item for you, which is one of the reasons why I like it. Hit blinds target +2. So at least this one, right, hits +2 and not just hit blinds target. So you have a little bit more leeway there, and also it'll be more powerful. So here we go with 19 defense, which really isn't that great. 39 defense for a helm isn't bad. This is an elite item right here, and it's 142 to defense. So as you can see, like, yeah, not bad at all. Especially since this is something you're supposed to be using in normal. It really isn't that bad in terms of defense. It can roll higher though, and I would much rather have a higher version of this. All resistances +15. You always need resistances, especially if you're a barbarian. You're gonna need that more than ever. And it gives you +3 life after each kill. So not only does it give you 6% life stolen per hit, but it also gives you +3 life after each kill. So this thing right here is a health generating behemoth. Like, this is great. And before you get it twisted, I don't mean great in hell. This is great for normal difficulty. Maybe a little bit into hell, only because of the life leech potential that it has. But other than that, I would probably take it off before I got to hell. But it is still pretty powerful, especially that +3 to combat skills. You gotta love that. This is actually a pretty good item. And what I really like about this one is, like, you see how it's like all like, they kind of reshaded it and stuff. I appreciate that. So if I remember correctly, there's only like 4 barbarian unique helms in original Diablo 2. So that's another thing other than the javelins that I was excited to see if there was more of, because that's another area I felt like Diablo 2 was kind of lacking just a little bit. Because, I mean, you know, with only 4 of them, I can't think of pretty much anybody that ever used one of those 4 uniques on their barb as their actual helm. Usually they'd be going for dream or something like that, and they would never be using these, or they'd be using a set item like Immortal Kings or something like that. So I appreciate this one. At least now we have another choice of what to wear as a unique for a barbarian. So that one's pretty good too. And last but not least, it's a bow that I found, man. Look at the name of this. So it's called Targets. I guess you buy this at Target. It gives you 20% faster hit recovery. It adds 23 to 45 damage. It adds 1 to 100 lightning damage, which is pretty nice. You get 5% life stolen per hit. You don't really need that as much if you are an archer. You shouldn't be needing that as much if you are an archer, but it's still something that's going to help you out a lot. Plus 2 to magic arrow and plus 15 to vitality. Now, I'm sorry to jump back, but if you're playing an archer, you really should be trying to like duck and dodge as much as you possibly can. And I know there are some attacks that you're never going to be able to do that with. That's just how the game is. But if you are playing as an archer, I'm telling you right now, like you need to be like running around, dodging things, you know, like trying to fire off arrows. You run a little bit forward, turn around, fire 2, run a little bit forward, turn around, fire 2, run in a big circle, fire, fire. It's kind of the reason why I never really like playing as a Boazon, you know, because I just never really like doing that. But the thing I will say that's good about that is Boazon and Javazon, they have an amazing potential for AoE attacks. Like anytime you get a spread weapon where you can basically just like mow things down because everything is like spreading out in like a fan motion, like when you used to play one of them old school video games and you get a power up like in Contra or something, and you have like 3 bullets going in every direction, then 5 bullets in every direction. When you get like that, those builds have a extreme potential to be just like effing insane. Just completely murder POW levels and things like that. So I don't want to, you know, put the bow down too much, but with this being, you know, such a low level, and with it being something that is a little weird, you know, I mean, plus 2 to magic arrow is freaking fantastic. I just feel like I'm just not overwhelmed with this is all, I guess. It's a little underwhelming. I don't know how I would even want to say that, so I apologize to you guys for having to sit here through me talking about that and trying to describe how I feel. But basically, I look at this and I'm like, man, it's okay, you know? So that's why I put it on this list too. So that's all we got for today. Cattail and Dark Hunger are probably the 2 best here, in my opinion. Now, that's probably not fair because this one is a exceptional weapon. So of course it should be better than the rest of these. But again, I would rather have Dark Hunger than have Cattail. I really would. And in fact, I could see myself upgrading this one to exceptional and maybe even still holding on to it for a little while, depending on how well that hit blinds target actually works. Because that's one thing that you have to deal with a lot as a barbarian. Like, God, game, why do you keep giving me barbarian items? You really want me to play as a barb, don't you? What is the deal with you, video game? Come on, stop it. I guess that's all I really got to say for these ones. So thank you all for coming back if you did. And if you're new here, thank you for showing up. And you guys all have a good day. And late.